Okay, we got a little cut off there, but we are back and we're talking about the Tao, the Matrix, dropping the mask, and our wellness and guarding our mind, guarding the one. So ye. In Tao, it's very difficult to explain the real meaning of the Tao. In chapter one of the Tao Te Ching, it can be talked about, but then it's not the real Tao. In chapter 25, there is something formed, it says, which existed before heaven and earth, like nature, quiet and rare, independent and unchanging. It continues cycling and does not rest. It can be the mother of heaven and earth. I don't know its name and named it Tao. It can be called Da, as in grand. And from this, you can see that once we start to talk about the great nature, we're using our limited knowledge, is what Dr. Yang says. Influenced by emotion to make an interpretation of the Tao. This has already led to the real meaning of the Tao away from the truth. This has led the real meaning of the Tao away from uh, the truth of the Tao. This is because humans are not truthful. We lie and play tricks on each other, so we all have serious mask on our face. We all have a serious mask on our face. I need to ask him about this. What does he mean? Like, it's a serious case that we have masks on our face, or do we carry our masks in a serious way, but not serious because we lie and we play tricks? Not only that, we have created an emotional matrix through our limited thinking and beliefs and become trapped in this emotional bondage. Therefore, the closest way to describe the Tao is the natural way, the duh. It's the manifestation of the Tao or the activities of nature. So, this is why I bring up the spring, the anger, the energy, the irritation, because and the dropping of the mask. It's it's deathly important that we be truthful. And if we can't be truthful about ourselves and our masks, then it's hard to find truth of the nature of reality and existence. Do you see how there's a dissonance there? If we just kind of take the concept of truth as a whole in general, being truthful with oneself and trying to be truthful with the rest of the world. And then when you approach the great mysteries of life and the nature of existence, can you be truthful even if it requires you being a dissident? Can you be truthful even if it requires going against the grain, not towing the line, going against the authority or the group? Have you ever had to, have you ever felt like you had a legitimate disagreement with the main group who is in charge? Well, so oftentimes this plays out in politics. Your group lost, so you're gonna in the West here, we really value freedom of speech. So we value being able to speak out against authority, right? But then those who are in authority will try to quell voices and silence voices, and that's how we got a lot of the during elections and even during COVID, you saw, I guess, manipulation. What did they call it? Canceling, right? Or shadow banning. These sort of things that humans do that validate what Dr. Yang is talking about here. We lie and we play tricks based on our emotion. So it's hard to talk about the great nature because we use our own limited knowledge influenced by emotion to make an interpretation of the Tao. We lie and play tricks on each other, so we all have a serious mask on our faces. Not only that, we've created an emotional matrix. So, how do we understand the polarized world that we are living in? How do we understand the emotion that comes up for our loved ones or even for us? Do you get emotionally stimulated by politics? Do you get emotionally stimulated by culture wars? Because it seems like a lot of people do nowadays. Maybe it's just social media, but I do see people in person say, "Oh gosh, they just got so stimulated." Or is that a mask too, saying we we have to some people will just stand up maybe against authority, whoever, if it's their team or it's not their team. Sometimes your team changes, right? So you kind of saw that with I guess current Republican factions, and there's always a split, right? And even in the Democratic Party, you saw a split. You saw people leave. It was such a big deal. So and so is leaving the Democratic Party. So and so is leaving the Democratic Party. But what that what that kind of says or talks about is the aspect of loyalty and staying with the group, right? And if you have a legitimate disagreement, now you have all these entanglements that you need to sort of disconnect from, disassociate from. Oftentimes, because we can't be honest with ourselves, and maybe we're caught up in the emotional matrix, we lie and we cheat because all we can ever do is use the strategies and tactics that have been taught to us that and that have been modeled for us and that continue to be modeled for us. But if we were connected to our heart, if we were connected to the great nature and Tao, it's this implies that we can be moral, we can be just, and we know the difference from right or wrong. And so we've seen how people, for example, Jesus, you know, took his great act for the sake of mankind, according to Christians, right? So what we could do is tease out this whole crucifixion thing, the martyrdom, and whatnot. But what I really want to outline is the emotional matrix and bondage that we find ourselves in that keeps us um, clashing, or that keeps us in the what they call culture wars now. But it also affects our mental health and our wellness and presents what I call moral fatigue. I don't know if others have talked about that, but I call it moral fatigue, where it's so important to either be on the right side or have the right ideology or have the right answer to something rather than being in the space and in the place where there's an aspect of reality and nature and existence that we don't know. The great mysteries of life are still those that we don't know. And so then people will want to talk about fact base and whatnot. Is it a fact? Is it a fact that there's a sun and the moon? Well, we can see it, right? And we've taken pictures of it. We've even gone to it. Um, Is it a fact that I have a soul? I have a consciousness? How do I know? Is it a fact that I have a yin side to myself? Is it a fact that I have emotions and feelings and um, inner energy that is animating this physical body, right? If you want to talk about fact base and science base, you can only really talk about what science has proven over time continuously to be true. I see this physical body, we can touch this physical body, but consciousness, on the other hand, metaphysics still doesn't know about, or spirit or soul. These are the aspects that we don't know about. How do we have a fact-based discussion, facts-based discussion about spirit and soul without killing each other, without getting involved in the emotional matrix, without letting it stimulate our minds, our emotions, and keeping us trapped in emotional bondage. So that is connected to this June's poetry, following the Tao. What are some ways that we can follow the Tao to know that we're on the right path? So going back to this passage here, where this poetry continues, it says, train yourself to keep the mind clear and pure, to keep the body relaxed and natural. Do not hold on to thoughts of the ego. Maintain the internal organs in their peaceful and steady, healthy state. Comprehend the grand harmony of nature profoundly. Ponder the theory of longevity deeply. Conceal the chi at the real lower dantian without moving it away, the yi. It's like a flowing stream. So oftentimes I'm reminded of my teacher saying, do you have your mind or does mind have you? Where the mind goes, the energy follows. If your mind is outside of you, your energy, we could say it gets siphoned or dispersed, right? So if you are wondering how to have more energy, cultivate more energy, Qigong helps with this in a really deep way, often speaking about the mind and emotion. Because remember, the emotion is the largest hurdle for Qigong training. Why? Because we get stimulated. That emotion now becomes an energy hydrant where you can just turn on, open the valve and that energy is going out. So we want to have that consciousness of our emotions, going back to dropping the mask of irritation and anger energy in the springtime. So that'll do it for today. Tomorrow we'll go into some more conflict resolution theory. And Uh, this will be up and actually, we're actually talking today because today's Thursday, Resolution Thursday. Tomorrow, we're going to do a meditation with Fearless Friday. Until next time, may your chi flow smoothly and remember to embrace the woo.